We're going to spend some time, though. We want to talk about the State of the Union address. And joining us is Alan Kelly for our weekly visit. Alan, with the company is the Playmaker Systems, right? That's correct?
Playmaker Systems. Good morning.
And the system itself is the Playmaker System.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. We mentioned last week that what we talk about is the plays to the presidency, the plays that these campaigns run and how they play out in politics. And we want to speak about the State of the Union address because this week you say, Alan, this was a perfect example of preemption. How so?
Yeah, well, this is the audacity of strategy, if I may coin the phrase. I'm sure that's been said before. But there was one play in particular that you can find on our table of influence strategies that really continue to strike me, and that is what we call the preempt. It's a very high engagement play, very much to the right, ironically, I suppose, on the table, and it is the strategy, the underlying strategy of trying to flip something to an advantage, trying to take someone's ground and claim it as your own. And there were 3 examples of that. I think we're going to play some clips on that. And essentially, he was trying to claim advantage or supremacy in the area of troops, in the area of gas, and in the area of class warfare. He was flipping that. And at least as I watched it, you could sit back and watch some of the GOP leaders interspersed with other Democrats, watching their jaws drop, saying, that son of a... You could tell that they were frustrated.
Stole my thunder.
He stole their thunder.
Well, let's give a listen to how he did it. He started off very early in the speech, something that Jon Stewart, by the way, made fun of the president for, and here's how he led off.
For the first time in 9 years, there are no Americans fighting in Iraq. For the first time in 2 decades, Osama bin Laden is not a threat to this country. Most of al-Qaeda's top lieutenants have been defeated. The Taliban's momentum has been broken, and some troops in Afghanistan have begun to come home.
Well, that one, Alan Kelly, is interesting because it was right at the top, and it almost forced Republicans to stand up and cheer for the president. You cannot sit there and look like you don't like what the president's saying when he says we killed bin Laden.
That's right. That's right. But here he is talking about an area that he really struggles with. Who wouldn't? But it's very, very, a very nettly issue, and he is claiming supremacy and victory in it. So that's taking away, and it's been largely regarded that this is his opening campaign speech, and so he's taking away a very important point for them to be arguing in their own platform. So that's pretty audacious in my book. And pretty clever because it leaves them with very few options. But
what do Republicans do?
Well, that's an interesting point. What the system we have is a decision system, and you can delve into it, and you can see what those options are against. How would you counter a preempt? Well, one option might be to run a play that we called a crowd, which says literally you've been beaten to the punch, but you still need to fight. Match your rival's timing, match its rhetoric, match its position, and force it to share the stage. In other words, crowd in, try to dilute what he's doing, and get a piece of that before his lead takes off, before he takes off with the issue. They're not left with many options, especially when it's the president enjoying his bully pulpit.
Let's talk about jobs and manufacturing, something else the president spoke about during the State of the Union.
So my message is simple. It is time to stop rewarding businesses that ship jobs overseas and start rewarding companies that create jobs right here in America. Send me these tax reforms and I will sign them right away.
All right, how is the preemption working there, Alan?
Well, there's an element of that, but the operative play we think is called a fiat. This is not Italian cars.
I thought it was GM that he helped.
No, I know. The fiat, like fix it again, the Tony. But no, it is the fiat as in to declare something by a fiat, to impress upon some authority. And the fiat is an interesting play because you can see it almost everywhere. In fact, it's one of the most used and abused plays, especially in the commercial life. Crest, 29 cents for toothpaste. It's just declarations of information. But when you're the POTUS, you can get away with fiats. You can run them beautifully because there's so much authority invested in you. Mm-hmm. So here he just says it. He says, here's what I think, here's what I want, here's what we shall do. And that's very effective, especially having just preempted. You can follow with fiats. These are authoritative declarations. So I thought that was a nice modulation of strategy moving into a speech.
And what, again, do Republicans do on this if they want to come back?
Probably run a bear hug, and I think you can probably guess what that is. I squeeze you. I agree with you. It's a bear hug is a move of violent agreement, if you will.
Violent agreement.
Violent. That's a brilliant point, Tim.
Passionate hypocrisy.
That's right. I completely. I couldn't have thought of that better. I said myself, and so I really don't know what they can do, but say. Yes, sir. That's an excellent point.
We need to bring manufacturing. It's just that we have a different idea how to bring it back.
That's right. But again, the fiat, like a preempt, is very much a high engagement play. Now, so far right off the bat, we got high engagement, and that to me matches. If this is the opening salvo, opening campaign speech, then yeah, he would be high engagement. He's no longer to the left. He's no longer assessing. He's no longer conditioning and warming waters. Boom, he's going for it and laying down his markers.
Let's with Alan Kelly now hear the president laying down a challenge, if you will, in the verbiage of the Playmaker system. Good. And this is on education.
I want every American looking for work to have the same opportunity as Jackie did. Join me in a national commitment to train 2 million Americans with skills that will lead directly to a job. My administration has already lined up more companies that want to help. Model partnerships between businesses like Siemens and community colleges in places like Charlotte and Orlando and Louisville are up and running.
All right, so come on, everybody's doing it. Why not you? Is that the challenge?
Yeah, that's right. And there is also an element of preempt there. My company, my administration, we're creating jobs. Now, wait a minute, wasn't that the problem?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, isn't that what we're talking about? Say the GOP. So again, a very clever mixing, and it's similar to the fiat. It is again a high engagement play. So there's only a few of those, and he's using them all. And a challenge is defined specifically as exhort others to action, the public appeal, suggestion, or demand by a player. Now, you're going to ask what they would do. Mm-hmm. How would they counter that? Maybe they would draft him like biking or like NASCAR.
Yeah, you get in behind the car and you let him cut through the air, and then you just follow along. And if you've ever driven behind a truck, you know what it's like.
That's right.
You can take your foot off the accelerator and just kind of ride along.
That's right. Or if you use drugs in athletics, you could be bicycling and you could be in the peloton.
Okay, we don't want to talk about drugs and biking.
But either way, that's right. You're moving up close. You're sapping the leader. You're using the leader's energy as a sort of an icebreaker. And at some point, when they slow down or weaken, then you move around. I don't know that they have any more choice on that particular case than to employ drafts.
Mm-hmm. All right. And let's hear about energy, because once again, this is a preemption, as Alan will explain. Let's hear what the president said during the State of the Union address.
Over the last 3 years, we've opened millions of new acres for oil and gas exploration. And tonight I'm directing my administration to open more than 75% of our potential offshore oil and gas resources. Right now, American oil production is the highest that it's been in 8 years. That's right, 8 years. Not only that, last year we relied less on foreign oil than in any of the past 16 years.
All right, so that's President Obama speaking about an issue that Republicans have held, which is drill, baby, drill, and all of a sudden the president is saying, yeah, let's do that.
I think I read Eric Cantor's lips saying, say what, as he listened to that, because that is their position. Mm-hmm. And again, here we have the most fully vested, most authoritative figure, maybe in world politics, saying this is his. That's the audacity of strategy in my book.
Is that another one where you just say the big bear hug and you say, hey, we agree with you, Mr. President. Let's go. Full steam ahead. Let's drill all over the place. Let's do as much as we can.
You might, but we looked at our standard guidance on that, and I think my own intuition says that maybe a bait. Finally now...
I'd do lousy in your course, wouldn't I?
No, you do great. You're doing great. The bait, of course, is like a challenge, except it invites somebody to cross a line that maybe they shouldn't cross. Mm-hmm. And but here is probably an opportunity for the GOP to essentially say, "Where'd you get that idea, my friend?" Mm-hmm. And to force him into a discussion about originality, and that probably would work. And And I would expect that counter move to be coming soon.
I want to make sure we cover taxes before we run out of time.
Now,
Taxes.
you can call this class warfare all you want, but asking a billionaire to pay at least as much as his secretary in taxes? Most Americans would call that common sense.
What's interesting about that line is he says billionaires, but he had talked about a tax on people making more than $1 million. Now, making more than $1 million does not classify you as a billionaire, which may be just parsing things here a little bit. But your point is that this is, once again, a preemption. How so?
Well, because there has been much said about class warfare. The dynamic of how that originated, I think he may have started it, but I think they made it an issue that, he's going to make this a class warfare. They're in fact trying to preempt him, but he's coming back right away and saying, by the way, that thing about class warfare that you're going to bring up, here's what I think about it. Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, as we talked about 4 years ago, which makes him so much different a candidate than, say, a Hillary Clinton, who would probably not make acknowledgments of weaknesses. Obama does this. He I was going to say aggressively comes out and will talk about things which shall not normally be named. He will say class warfare, and then he will put his own spin on it. That's preemption.
Interesting. And the best thing for the Republicans to do? Run a pass? Is that what you're saying?
That's what we're saying here.
Abandon the contested space. Give your opponent a meaningless win. I don't know. How can they do that? You can't agree with them on taxes like that.
I don't know. There are many things they can do. So consult standard guidance and see if you agree with this.
You tweet too.
I do.
At Playmaker Alan?
Yes.
ALAN for people who don't know.
That's right.
And the website again?
Is www.plays2run.com, and that's the numeral 2.
All right. It's always great, and we will do much of this each week. I hope people take a little something out. We just had the State of the Union this week. It's so good to have you in here.
Fantastic. See you next week.
Thank you. It's the morning briefing here on POTUS.